A day in the life of Horus Lupercal during the siege of Terra. There is no mourning aboard the vengeful spirit. There is only the distant light of Terra burning beneath the Warmaster's flagship, and the endless thunder of a war that has already consumed billions of lives. Somewhere below, artillery pounds the walls of the Imperial Palace. Ships die in orbit, titans walk through fire, entire armies are erased in minutes, and above it all sits the man who started this war. Horus Lupercal does not wake as ordinary men wake for hours. Perhaps longer, his enormous body has remained motionless upon the throne inside Lupercal's court. His armor seems almost fused to him. Dark power moves beneath his skin. His breathing is slow, and around the throne stand warriors who no longer know whether they are guarding their Warmaster or witnessing the birth of something else. The chamber itself barely resembles the strategium it once was. During the Great Crusade, Lupercal's court had been a place of command, where officers gathered beneath banners of victory, and Horus won men with a smile, a joke, or a few perfectly chosen words. Now the banners bear the marks of the ruinous powers. Shadows move where nothing should be moving. Distances inside the chamber no longer remain constant. The vengeful spirit beside the throne waits Zardulayak of the Word Bearers. He understands better than most what is happening. Horus is not sleeping. His mind is elsewhere. While the siege of Terra continues in the material universe, Horus walks through the immaterium. There, armies and fortifications mean almost nothing. His real enemy is not Rogel Dorn, not Sanguinius, and not the millions of soldiers defending the palace. His real enemy is the Emperor. Father and son are already fighting, not with swords, but with will. Horus reaches through the warp toward the Emperor, testing the psychic defenses surrounding Terra, searching for weakness. The Chaos Gods pour their power into him, transforming the greatest Primarch into something capable of challenging the most powerful human who has ever lived. Every moment Horus spends here is another attack upon his father, another attempt to exhaust him before the final confrontation. And somewhere inside this impossible psychic battlefield, memories return. He remembers standing beside the Emperor during the Great Crusade. He remembers being the first Primarch recovered, the favored son, the warrior trusted above all others. He remembers the Luna Wolves before they became the sons of Horus. He remembers victories when entire worlds surrendered simply because his fleet had entered their system. For a moment, the old Horus almost seems close enough to touch. Then the voices return. They remind him that the Emperor abandoned him, that the Great Crusade was handed to Horus while his father disappeared into the Imperial Palace, that humanity would one day worship the Emperor as a god, that the Primarchs would become unnecessary once their wars were finished. Some of these claims are lies, some are half-truths that no longer matters. Horus has repeated them to himself for so many years that they have become part of him. Eventually, his eyes open. The atmosphere inside Lupercal's court immediately changes. Space Marines who have faced monsters without hesitation suddenly struggle to look directly at their own Primarch. The old Horus could dominate a room through charisma. This Horus dominates it through fear. Zardulayak approaches. First reports have arrived from Terra. The palace still stands. Rogel Dorn's defensive networks continue to resist the bombardment. The Loyalists are losing ground, but not quickly enough. Horus listens, or at least he appears to listen. The War Master, who once remembered the names of ordinary soldiers, now seems strangely distant from the details of his own war. Thousands of tanks can be destroyed and entire divisions can disappear without drawing more than a moment of his attention, because Horus is no longer thinking in divisions. He is thinking in Primarch, in gods, in destiny. The mechanical details of the siege belong increasingly to Perturabo. The Lord of Iron calculates firing solutions, studies the palace walls, moves legions, manipulates supply lines, and reduces the greatest fortress humanity has ever constructed to a mathematical problem. Horus knows exactly why he needs Perturabo. Fulgrim is unreliable. Angren is almost impossible to control. Magnus follows purposes of his own. Mortarion has become something that even many traders can barely tolerate. Perturabo, however, still understands WAR. A projection of the Lord of Iron appears before the War Master. Around him unfold tactical displays showing kilometers of palace walls, artillery positions, landing zones, Titan movements, and casualty projections. Perturabo explains the problem. Horus barely looks at the numbers. Instead, he looks at his brother. This is the Horus that once conquered half a galaxy. The Horus who understands that commanding Primarchs is not simply about giving orders. Every brother has a weakness. Every brother has something he desperately wants. Perturabo wants recognition, so Horus gives it to him. He tells Perturabo that the others are creatures of impulse, that only he truly understands what must be done, that only the Lord of Iron can break Dorn's fortress. Horus does not need to shout. He simply reminds his brother of every wound the Emperor allowed to remain open. And once again, Perturabo returns to the siege. The meeting ends. Another visitor is less easily controlled. Isakal Abaddon enters Lupercal's court. The first captain has spent most of his life believing in Horus, not merely obeying him, believing in him. Horus was the greatest of the Primarchs, the natural war master, the commander who could bring impossible wars to an end. But the figure Abaddon now sees upon the throne is increasingly difficult to recognize. Word bearers surround his father, rituals have replaced strategy. The man who once commanded through brotherhood now sits swollen with unnatural power while other men fight his war for him. Abaddon wants Horus to command again. He wants the War Master back. And somewhere beneath all the corruption, Horus understands exactly what his son is thinking. For a short time, the transformation seems to retreat. Horus speaks clearly. His posture straightens. His voice carries some of the confidence of the old days. He asks about the sons of Horus. He asks which companies have reached the surface. He asks about losses, Abaddon answers. For several minutes, it almost feels like the Great Crusade again. Then Horus smiles, and Abaddon realizes that even this may have been deliberate. The War Master has always known how to give people exactly enough of what they want. After Abaddon leaves, silence returns to the court. Nearby rests one of the darkest trophies of the heresy, the remains of Ferus Manius, the brother killed by Fulgrim on Ispin. 5 Horus has spoken to Ferus before, despite knowing that the dead Primarch cannot answer him. Perhaps Horus imagines the conversations they might have had. Ferus had been stubborn, brutal, and difficult, but Horus respected him. Among the brothers who joined the rebellion, Horus increasingly finds himself surrounded by monsters, fanatics, and damaged demigods who are becoming harder to command with every passing day. There may even be moments when Horus understands the terrible joke. He rebelled against the Emperor because he believed mankind should not be ruled by a tyrant, and now he sits upon the throne, surrounded by worshippers, while entire worlds die because he commands it. But Horus does not turn back. He cannot. Too much has happened. Istvan 3, Istvan 5, Kolth Molech, Beta Garmon, the Solar War, millions upon millions of dead soldiers, broken legions, murdered brothers. There is no road back to being the Emperor's favorite son. So Horus looks down at Terra. From the observation systems of the vengeful spirit, the throne world barely resembles the planet he once knew. Smoke covers continents. Orbital fire illuminates the atmosphere. The Imperial Palace, the symbol of everything his father built, is slowly disappearing beneath destruction. Somewhere inside those walls is Rogol Dorn. Somewhere there is Sanguinius. And somewhere, upon the golden throne, is the Emperor. Sanguinius troubles Horus more than he admits. Of all his brothers, the angel is the one who could have been War Master, instead beloved by almost everyone, magnificent in battle, humble where Horus was ambitious even after everything that has happened. Some part of Horus still wants Sanguinius to understand him, perhaps even to join him, but another part knows the truth. Sanguinius will never kneel, and sooner or later, the two brothers will meet. A warning interrupts Horus's thoughts. Another loyalist position has survived an attack that should have destroyed it. The commander, delivering the message, expects anger. Horus only laughs. The outcome of one assault does not matter. 10,000 lives do not matter. A fortress lost today can be attacked again tomorrow. He has almost reached the point where conventional victory itself no longer matters. Terra is becoming something larger than a battlefield. The warp presses closer. Demons gather wherever the Emperor's psychic protection weakens. Reality around the vengeful spirit becomes increasingly unstable. Horus can feel the chaos gods watching through him, feeding him strength while demanding more of his soul in return. He tells himself that they are allies. He tells himself that he is using them. He tells himself that once the Emperor is dead, He will be the master of mankind's destiny. Whether Horus still truly believes this is another question. There is no dinner, no rest, no quiet hour at the end of the day. Horus no longer lives according to the rhythms of ordinary humans. The ship's chronometers may claim that another Terran cycle is ending, but inside Lupercal's court, even time has begun to lose its meaning. Zardu Layak begins another ritual. The War Master returns to his throne. Outside, millions continue fighting in his name. Perturabo moves armies across. The surface Angron rages against the walls. Mortarion waits for his own opportunity. Abaddon fights to preserve a legion that is slowly losing itself. And Horus closes his eyes. Once again, the throne becomes still. Once again, his consciousness falls through reality. He sees Terra beneath him. He sees the palace. He sees a golden light burning within it. His father, the Emperor, is still there, still resisting. Horus reaches toward him through the warp, carrying the power of 4 gods behind his will. Tomorrow, perhaps another wall will fall. Tomorrow, another million soldiers will die. Tomorrow, one of his brothers may disappoint him, betray him, will perish. But none of those things are the real reason Horus came to Terra. He did not cross the galaxy merely to conquer a palace. He came home to prove that the Emperor was wrong. To prove that Horus Lupercal, once the most beloved of all the Emperor's sons, should have been mankind's master. And somewhere in the darkness of the vengeful spirit, beneath the corruption, beneath the power, beneath the voices of gods, there may still be a fragment of the old Horus wondering how everything came to this. But by the time another artificial day begins aboard the War Master's flagship, that voice is silent again, and the siege continues.